So all I've done so far, lads, is I've bisected my A4 sheet. I've divided it equally in two parts. Found the center. An A4 sheet is 211 millimeters in width. So if we find the center of that, that's 105.5 millimeters. Mark that off, and I've drawn that line. Now on the drawing, we want to get all these vertical lines. We want to find them, and we'll mark them in construction lines. To get it to fit on the sheet, I'm going to start my drawing in 65 millimeters to this line here. Okay, that's the line I'm going to be working from. 65 millimeters into that line. So I'll mark off my 65. And draw that line in. Now, that line is this line here. Stretches the full length of the two gables of the house and across this dotted line. We know that 40 millimeters back from this line is this next dotted line. That's the actual height of our house. And then these tabs here that I was telling you about, they're 3 millimeters wide. Every one of those tabs is 3 millimeters wide. So if we measure back, we've got 40 millimeters back to here. That's to our dotted line, and then another 3 millimeters out. We have our tab. I'll mark those lines in now. So it's the first two lines. These lines here, and this line here. Main body, or the floor of the house, is going to be 50 millimeters wide. I mark 50. And I know this is going to be a long line as well, because this is the other side of the gable. So I can take that line and extend it almost the full height of the page. Our next line is 40 over from that, and then we've got 36 and 36. So I mark 40. I'm working along this central line to make sure that I'm staying straight. 36 and 36. I'll draw those lines in now. These don't have to be as long, as they are only as long as the base of the house. So those lines drawn in. We don't have a tab at this end because we have a tab at this end. When we fold this model up, this end here is going to meet this line here, and this tab will be what reinforces that joint. So the next thing we need to do is mark in our horizontal lines. These lines going right across. We know that the floor is 70 millimeters in width, and then we have a dotted line here. That's a bend line, a fold line, and then we've got 40 millimeters up to this height. So working from the center out, 70 divided by 2 is 35. I mark down 35 and up to 70. And I can draw those lines in. Alright. And then we've got 3 millimeters of a tab. It's alright. Coming down 40 millimeters. No mistake. Measure from that line up to 40 millimeters and down 40 millimeters from this line, just here. And we draw on those lines. Again, you can be drawing these in construction lines. I'm drawing them in heavily so as everybody can see them. Now the pitch of our roof, we've got a 45-degree angle here. It's the only one marked, so we know that they're all the same. All of these angles are going to be 45 degrees. So we use our 45-degree set square. Go from the point, precisely in the point, strike the line down, and then coming from the other side, put your pencil in the point, slide your set square to it, and down we go. And then there's a nice neat intersecting point here. Slide the square up, and we can do the same at the top. Okay, actually have our overall development done already. Now we need our tabs. So we need to come 3 millimeters down from that line and 3 millimeters up from that line. These are our reinforcing tabs that we're going to be using for making the model. These wouldn't be in the ordinary development. They're not a planned part of the overall shape itself, but for making models we need to be able to reinforce the corners. So that's the full development marked out. We can see now that we have all of these vertical lines, we've got all the horizontal lines, and we've got the pitch of our roof. They're all in. What we need to do now is mark these grooves. We're going to be cutting all those little nicks out of it so that when we go to fold the model together they don't hit into each other. Again, because all of these angles are going to be 90-degree folds, we can draw in those nicks at 45 degrees. So start at this end, and you're just following what's on the drawing. That line there. Line there. Now to save a little bit of time, speed up the process, whenever you have one little line drawn, rather than moving the square back and forth each time, just slide along and do all the tabs that are going in that direction. And then we can go back the other direction. Mark in those little nicks. That's one side done. Same on the top. One, two, three. Switch it to the other side. One, two, and three. Okay. So now we have our shape fully defined. Say I've done these in heavy lines. I'm going to try and darken the actual lines that we'll be cutting even more, so they're crystal clear. To do that, we work around the drawing. I'm going to cut along all of these lines with the scissors. That's all my horizontal lines, I think. So now it's time to mark in the vertical lines. two gables of the house. There and there. These lines here are not actually cut lines. Bear in mind, those are just fold lines, so we're going to be folding along them. And the final lines we have to draw in heavy because we're going to cut along them. It's the roof itself, up at our 45-degree angles. So we have our shape drawn. We're ready to cut and make model.